They want to test your network. They want to bring it down.
Why should I care about troubleshooting at all?
And he went way off script, so we can actually throw away all Murphy's Law. Love that, love that. Hey, good to see you again. As we said in the introduction, today we have a very important guest of honor, Sofia.
Yes, so a big reason why this episode is so special is our guest speaker. We're pretty sure that for those of you who already started asking themselves a question, how to develop your career in the wireless industry, this name means a lot. So please welcome Mr. Keith Parsons.
How are you today?
Wow. Good to have you with us, Keith. That's really an honor. I mean, Keith, you are a veteran in the wireless industry. You're a consultant, you're a designer, you are an awesome teacher. We're very happy to have you with us. How are you doing, Keith?
Very good. Glad to be here. You look very comfortable there in a whole set. Very nice.
Well, this is the basement studio. It's specifically made, set up for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the sun's kind of in my face a little bit here, but yeah, we'll work around it.
So Keith, the last time I see you was at the Wireless LAN professional event, and it looks like we had an event still in 2020. I watched all the recordings, but when is the next one? Do you have anyone planned?
The next one's in the future sometime. We canceled the one that we were going to be doing in Prague last October because of the whole COVID thing. We did a little call for presentations for 2021, and we've got some great content coming. But as of right now, I don't know when we can hold a live event again. Hopefully in 2021, we're looking forward to it. But right now, we don't have any dates. I wasn't going to commit to a hotel until we see what happens with the whole COVID thing.
Makes sense, yes. Well, I was going to hope that you will have the crystal ball and you can actually tell us when we can start traveling again, but the answer is no.
No crystal ball here.
But the good news is you have some really good content on your website, and it's available for everyone. It's free, and I think it's really good learning content.
Yeah, there's hundreds of hours there. If you want to engage with people after, you can watch the video and then contact them individually. And most of the presentations the individuals I know who presented, be glad to answer any questions you might have.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah, I like the recent video. It was from Phoenix that I saw about what you can do with Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. I mean, a lot of people in the wireless industry use the tool. Adrian Granados made it. And you did a really good deep dive on what to do with that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, 10 things in 10 minutes. I got it just inside the 10-minute line.
I can learn from that. So really the big topic today is about education and getting yourself certified and getting knowledge. And I think that you are the perfect guest for us to talk about that topic. If you want to get certified, where should you start?
Well, there's two big branching paths that I would look at. The first one is whatever vendor you're supporting. If you're supporting a Cisco or an Aruba or Extreme or Ruckus, whoever it is, each vendor has their own certification track, both for training and for certifications and exams. And the ones for the vendor are extremely useful because you need to know how to make that piece of gear actually work. So yeah, I'm all for vendor certifications, but I think as a general overall view, look to something like the CWNP has a whole series of certifications and training that's more generic. It's about the industry as a whole and not any one specific vendor. So I think you need both. You need the generic knowledge to understand how all of 802.11 itself works, but in addition, you're going to be working on one piece of gear. And if you support 2 or 3 sets of gear, I'd say go and get the training on those other sets of gear as well.
Can't agree more. Absolutely.
Totally makes sense. So for example, let's say a professional already reached a certain level of knowledge, no matter if it's vendor dependent or independent CWNP track, but how to develop career further, where to go next to reach an expert level of knowledge?
That one's actually pretty easy. I've helped lots of people over my 20 years in doing this, and you should look for a mentor to help you. And there's lots of mentors in a lot of places you can go to do that. But engage with the community. Now you do that by writing a blog. Now, as soon as I say that, most people's ears just go, no, I hate writing. Too bad. If you want to be a professional, you need to know how to write. You need to know how to communicate well. You can have fantastic understanding of the technology, but if you can't communicate well and share your ideas with others, you're just going to be a technician the whole time. So to help your career, you need to be able to communicate. A good place to do that and to get yourself known in the industry is to start a blog. Now, blogs are free. All you have to do is think of a question, and there's tons of technical questions out there. Do the research and write the answer, and then share it with everyone else. I know lots of people who have blogs, probably over 100, and every single one I've ever talked to uses a blog as their memory. As in, they wrote a blog because they had a problem, they didn't know how to solve it, they did the research, they wrote up their notes, they just happened to store it in a blog. To a person, everyone I know, and it's happened to me, probably 50, 60 times, I have the same question again. I go to Google, I search for the question, my own blog comes up. Our brains just can't hold that much information. So it's good for you, it's good for your career, it's good for the community, and it helps you get your name out there. So yes, you could be the most certified person around, but if people don't know you, it's pretty hard to enhance your career. A blog's an actually really easy way to do that.
Cool piece of advice, actually. Cool piece of advice. What can be a reference, for example, of such kind of blog? Maybe you can refer to somebody in the industry so we can just get an idea of that.
There's a guy down in Australia, in Melbourne, and his blog goes by Mr. CCIE, and he captured his entire process. His name's Rasika.
Yes.
And Rasika took his education process and wrote up his notes, and he shared them with everyone. He's now teaching online courses. He's well known. He got at our last 2 years ago at our conference, he got the Person of the Year award. So yeah, it started with his blog, and now he's well known in the industry, and he can probably write his own ticket wherever he'd like to go.
And we're putting his URL to the website over here. So
Good place. And by the way, Sophia, what about your blog?
Good question. I need to work on that.
Well, you heard it here. Keep that one in the recording so everyone hears it.
absolutely, I definitely will. On the blog, we already talked about with Adrian Granados, the programmer that made Wi-Fi Explorer Pro. Actually, he made really good notes as well, and those are the ones that I used for my CW NA and my CW Analyze exams as well, because they're really detailed and help me to study and put everything that I learned in the exams in the right spot. So. It's a very good source of
and actually I think Adrian's a good example. He wanted to study himself, so in his own personal study technique, he would write a mind map, and he would put this bubble connects to this bubble, connects to this bubble, and then he published those on his blog saying, this is how I learned, you might learn the same way. And so those are the kind of things you can share. Maybe that's not the way you learn, and you could learn from Rasika's or from anyone else's. On our the WLAN Pros website, we have probably 100 different blogs you can go find. Find the person who speaks to you. When you read their writing, you'll say, oh yeah, that makes sense, and you understand it. You don't have to read all the blogs, just find the one. Some people are extremely technical, down to the bit level, and I'm not that way. So when I read those, I'm like, oh, that's okay, I want something else. But other people love that, and so just find the blog that's you.
Sounds good. What other tools are you recommending for those who want to start or want to get to the next level in their career? What kind of tools should they use, both from a software and the hardware perspective?
So yes, now this show and tell time. So I will set up and I'll show you some of the things that I recommend to everyone.
Please do.
And depending on who you are and where you are in your career, I'll also give you some cheaper prices and some expensive ones. So on the bottom end, let's do something here.
That is awesome.
Okay, there we go. So here we have a WLAN Pi. It's a couple €100 out on the outside. If you make it from parts, it might be less than €100. This one has a 3D printed case, comes with cable and everything. It's just a little tool, and it has a whole bunch of features. So some of the features in it, it's an iPerf server, iPerf 2, iPerf 3, a ZAP server, it's DHCP server. If you connect it up with this little cable, plug it in, you can plug it into an iPad. It gets its power from the iPad, and it becomes a Wi-Fi client. You can do Wi-Fi testing. You'd mentioned Adrian's tools. You can also use the WLAN Pi as a remote sensor to Wi-Fi Explorer. So you leave this behind at some of your at some client's office. You can power it up with a PoE injector, plug it into a switch, and then if you have its IP address, and by the way, the IP address shows up right there on the screen, then you get to use it as a remote version of Wi-Fi Explorer Pro from Adrian. Fantastic combination. In fact, if you use a service called ZeroTier, you can leave these behind and it will phone home to ZeroTier and give you an IP address that you can hit remotely, even if it's inside NAT or something. So this one has lots of tools. We have a troubleshooting course, a 4-day course. We use probably half the time is using this tool for a variety of different things. So that's a quick one. There's also other little teeny things, like something just looks kind of silly, a little PoE. You plug it in PoE, it gives you lights and it tells you whether or not there's PoE there. Fits in your pocket, really tiny, and if you think there's PoE and there's not, or there is and it's the wrong kind, this is a very easy solution. The next one up is one that is like really free. Okay, it's not free. It's just really cheap. I think it's in the range of dollars. It's a app that runs on called Analyty, weird name, but it's one of the best Android versions of tools that I've used that allows me to drill down and see inside the beacons, because in the beacons it's carrying information about what an AP is actually doing. What's its RSN element? I mean, some really nitty-gritty things. There's a lot of Wi-Fi apps available that will show you little pictures, but I want to see the actual detail of what is that AP saying. And I could use Adrian's tool, and I use it all the time when I have a Mac. If I don't have a Mac, this is lightweight. Little Android does a great job as well. Now, if you have, and those two that I just showed are, all three of those first things are very inexpensive. They don't cost very much at all. This one is an AirCheck from NetAlly. It's stepping up in price. It's fast. Here, I'll show you. Ready? I'll turn it on. 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and I'm collecting data. So for speed, it can't be beat. 3 seconds in, and I'm collecting data. There's a whole lot of things it can do. It will also allow me to drill down and see things, but instead of hundreds of dollars, it's now into the thousands. It also has an Ethernet port on the side, so I can check that PoE as well, but I can check Ethernet. I can do Ethernet testing. This has layer 7 testing, so I can hit, it's actually called One Touch. I hit one button, and it runs out and checks Google, it checks video, it checks YouTube, and it gives me back all the answers in one little button. So both Wi-Fi and wired, it's quick and easy. Its spectrum analyzer, I don't really care for. It has the ability to connect up as a client, and so I can have it do a live ping as well. So this tool is quick and easy, and but it's not cheap. Now the last one. This is my Ekao Sidekick. Love my Sidekick. Use it all the time. I can use it with Windows or Mac or Android or iOS to connect to it. It's a little Linux computer actually, and inside it has a big hard drive and a huge battery. I like mine connected with these little tabs. It's from a company called peak design, and they're made to hang on to cameras. So they're made to hold really expensive DLSRs. And then so when I take them off, it just hangs on my hip, and it's really simple to take on and off, and I don't have to have a big bulky thing. I carry it at the back, the small of my back when I'm using it. It has a fantastic world-class spectrum analyzer in it. 2 NICs, it can scan all the channels. I can scan all 2, 4, and 5 gig channels in a little over 2 seconds. So for doing validation surveys, this is my go-to tool. Now, it's a little more expensive than the others, but when you get to a point where you're in your career where you're making money by solving people's problems, this is a great place to go. Now,
Definitely worth every dollar. I agree.
I use it all the time.
It's also a favorite.
It works really well, and we like it a lot. And so let's go back and show you these. Now, this is a silly little tool, very inexpensive. I just started using it a couple of weeks ago. And it's Ubiquiti's little teeny nano stations. They're made to hook up to a WISP. But when you get a pair of them, you can put them in bridge mode. Now, why would you use this? I've been to a lot of executives' homes who are like, I can't get my Zoom call to work. I've got 200 meg out to the internet, but my Zoom call is not working. Well, they probably put in some cheap mesh network from room to room to room, and the latency on their Zoom call is huge. On their WebEx call. Of course, they're on WebEx. Put one of these down in the basement, wherever the DMARC is, and you just aim it to the other one. And I'm shooting a set of these from my house, through my entire house, through a 3-car garage, through another 2-car garage, over to my daughter's house next door, and we're maintaining 200 meg throughput, and the pair of them cost $150. So kind of cool little things to look at.
That's a fun price.
And the fun part is the client end of this, it kind of sets up as an AP to client. The client end can also show you not just MCS, but you can see the QAM change. If you put something inside, it has a constellation diagram, and it will switch from QAM 16 to QAM 64. And then if you get it, put some interference in there, it'll drop down to QPSK. Fantastic learning tool, and it's really inexpensive. So those kind of little handset tools. And the last one I want to show here is my favorite, and you already mentioned it though, so I'm going to go over here, and there you go. So this is the tool probably I use most. It's Wi-Fi Explorer Pro from Adrian Granados. Fantastic tool. You could look on the WLPC. There's my little 10 talk on how to use it. But it just came out in the Pro 3 version. Has lots of features. I can attach it to spectrum analyzers. I can attach it to Bluetooth, and it will show Bluetooth. It does Wi-Fi, and I can connect it up to my WM Pis and show those remotely. So love that tool. They also have another tool up here that just sits in my taskbar. And I have it so it's telling me what I'm showing, who I'm connected to, and I have mine showing MCS over time, because I know if MCS is stable, then my Wi-Fi is stable. So if I have any issue, I know it's someplace else. And the last one of his tools I just want to show is this little guy called AirTool. AirTool allows me to use my Mac and do packet captures. Just from this simple interface, I can go capture on any individual 2.4 channel or 5 gig channel and collect the data. I can even stream it directly into other services or straight into Wireshark and be live Wireshark. So that's a set of tools that I thought would be kind of fun to talk about.
Absolutely, and we're going to talk about packet capture with Peter Mackenzie, who's going to be with us in one of the shows as well. And then we're going to do a deep dive on the packet capturing.
And he's way better at packet capturing.
Yeah. Anyways, it's good to see such a great variety of tools, not just from the troubleshooting perspective, but also from a spectrum perspective, and also from a client device perspective. So all different kind of points of interest, let's say, that are important for wireless engineer.
And you really do need to know that. You need to understand the basics, how the protocol works. And Stephen, you mentioned the CWAP. I think everyone needs to take that. The first one is CWNA, then you need to get the packet level down. If you understand how Wi-Fi actually works, then you can solve all sorts of issues. It will help you in design, it will help you in security, it will help you in anything you're trying to do. So understanding the basics and then having tools that will help you. Now, you don't need to start out with the most expensive tools. I started out, someone asked me what they would do to start with. I would buy a Ubiquiti or a MikroTik set of APs, a couple of them, learn how to put them in bridge mode, learn them how to put them in AP mode, and play around. Learn the protocol first and practice. You will eventually, when you get a job and you're installing 2,000 Cisco APs, you better know how Cisco works as well. But the fundamentals are still the fundamentals, and you can apply those across any of the vendors that you might be working with.
It's the physics of Wi-Fi, as we always say. Yes.
So just curious, actually, because Keith, we had already a little sneak peek on what you have in your house. So we're just curious about your home Wi-Fi, and this is a classical question that we ask each and every speaker. So could you please be so kind and show or maybe explain your Wi-Fi setup at home?
Let's see if I can make this work. Switch over to there. Okay, I took a couple of pictures this morning for you, and this was one of the best things I did for my house and my marriage as well. It helped my marriage. I was at Jerry Ola's house. Jerry used to work for Acal, and he works for Mist now. We all know Jerry. And Jerry worked a whole lot on the WM Pi project. And I was there working on something. I looked over in his office, and he had one of these. And I've been keeping all my gear in tubs. They're kind of like the ones that are at the top here, all the way at the top, just a little box. And I label them. Yes. And he had these ones that come out, and they kind of tip out, and they were made for small parts. So now I have like 3 of them, and I keep all my stuff in there because there's so many things you need to know. I need a USB-C to USB-A. What about a USB-C to a hub? And so if they each go in their own little bucket, it's easy to find stuff. So find a place to keep all your stuff. And these are on wheels, so I can roll them into the other room, and then my wife doesn't get mad at me. That's what helps the marriage. Here is my wall of testing. I worked with Fernay, and we built this on the wall. And at a time, we could hold 30 APs next to each other and turn them on and off via a switch. Right now, I was going to load it up for you, and I went, yeah, I'll just leave it empty. But each one of those little trays will hold a different AP, and they have a PoE cable going into them. And they all connect up to this little room. And luckily, I built this house maybe 5 years ago. I put a server room in the house. So the server room sits over on a rack like this. And then the door shuts, and so the loud sound doesn't go. And there's the vents that vent it outside and keep it cooled off. So I have my own little space. I mean, everyone needs to have a lab, right? So I just happen to have a lab. I can just carry more APs to test than other people. So that's my little setup there. This is my office from right over there. But from my side, it looks like this. A lot of soundproofing there. And this is my view of you right now. You're right in the middle of that little green box in the center.
Awesome.
So
beautiful.
You wanted to see what my place looks like? That's what I look like. And so there's a screen on the left by the microphone that has all 4 channels I can see. The one on the right is whatever slides I'm showing, so my eyes can be up close. And then the big screen down below is just my workspace, but it really doesn't have anything to do with when I'm going to be doing other stuff. So let's come back. Did that answer your question?
Brilliant. Absolutely. You overachieved on that question.
Now I think each and every engineer would be kind of jealous, or at least have a reference how to make it nice looking setup at home.
Actually,
they're going to use this footage as a wish list and a mood board, I think.
It's actually, it used to be our toy room, and my son was building a new house, but he sold his old house first, so I had to move out of my office. I have like a 200 square meter office in my basement. I built it for it, but I got kicked out because my son had to move in there. So my entire office fits in about 2.5 by 2.5 meters. This entire room. That's why there has to be a green screen, because there's not enough depth to do anything else. But it actually, he's moved out. His house is done now, and now I stay here because it's comfortable. I can find things that are within easy reach.
So Keith, I have one more question, and I think that I'm pretty sure you're going to have a real awesome answer on this. Can you describe to us one day in your career that you will never forget?
Well, there's a whole bunch of those days. When you work with wireless, you're all over. So I've been way north of the Arctic Circle, working in frigid cold, hot, down by the equator in the middle of the jungles. So lots of kind of things. But probably something that's very memorable is working up on the top of the Empire State Building, hanging out over with, you're all, of course, harnessed in, but leaning out over the edge, screwing in bridge links and stuff. So we get a lot of things inside freezers where you did, like, I thought it was cold above the Arctic Circle. Some of these freezers are even worse. So we've got to put Wi-Fi where people need communications, and they need it everywhere.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Do you have any famous last words before we say goodbye to you?
Lab. When you have a question, go pull out your gear and run a lab. You should have a lab at home. If you have a lab to play with, then you won't look so stupid when you show up at your customer site. You shouldn't be looking, trying to find things while you're in front of customers. Practice first and get it down really well. And then when you show up in front of a customer, you're going to act like you know what you're doing. It'll make all the difference.
That is really good advice.
Absolutely, Keith. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was a great pleasure to get this information and to talk to you. Thanks you
Sophia.
so much.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon in live.
Yes, live, definitely.